It has been well over a year since I first covered Geronimo. Over a year ago, when I first started looking at the game and investigating the studio, Dark Matter Studio, run by two buddies, Pebbles and Stilton, who are working together to develop Geronimo, I described the game as potentially my dream game. And that is because they are seeking to create a high-fidelity, virtual reality, close combat simulator and tactical shooter that is akin to a Ready or Not or a Ground Branch in virtual reality. Well, the game is not yet out, and we still don't have an official release date, but I can say that I've been watching the Discord closely, periodically talking to Pebbles and Stilton, and keeping my eye on the game's development. And while we still don't know when the game is going to come out, I can say with high confidence that I like the direction that the game is going, and there has been some pretty wild updates since last we spoke about Geronimo. Let's start back in October of 2023. They released the first of what would be a series of sit reps after a period of somewhat of a prolonged silence. And in this sit-rep, they described that they had identified, diagnosed, and began to remedy a rendering issue that was causing some serious performance issues. And they also showcased some incredible new footage, this time from a shoot house that looks very much like a traditional CQB live fire shoot house. The environment itself is highly realistic, very authentic to what you would expect from this sort of CQB kind of shoot house environment, featuring those Durablock walls. You even have that red stripe on the wall so that people participating in it know that their muzzles are not authorized to go above that red line whenever there's observers on the catwalk. We see your traditional USPSA style, IPSC targets with an A zone, a C zone, a D zone, that head credit card, as well as some other props. We also saw some amazing lighting effects in a couple of new weapon models. We saw a Geisley AR-15 with what looks like an RC2 suppressor. We saw a SIG handgun. We saw a bunch of new optics. We also saw some PMags. We even saw some little rubber strip charges that look like they're cut out of electronic cutting tape. So this is just really realistic, very authentic equipment. And you can tell that they're interacting with, taking advice from, doing a lot of research as they go and collect assets, develop their own assets, and implement the game. But most importantly to me was the performance that we saw in this environment. The frame rate was really high. It was captured in PC VR. The graphics look great. The lighting looks incredible. We don't know how many assets are in the entire environment, but it was the first time I looked at this and I was like, damn, I would play this right now. It looks like a hell of a lot of fun. And that was back in October of 2023. Look forward to November of 2023, and we got another little update. We also got some more shoot house footage. This time, again, they are working in tandem, cooperatively in a shoot house. There's furniture inside the shoot house, and the game is looking pretty badass once again. And it was in this update that they also let us know that they've been working on some of their breaching techniques. In the past, we've seen their explosive breaching options, and then later on, we get a little bit more details on the breaching as well. Then they showcase in SITREP 03, which was in November of 2023, their first pass on scopes and how they're working on some of the optics that are used for long-range combat or some of that mid-range stuff rather than just your typical CQB style environment. And then in SITREP 4, they go over their second pass on those same optics. This is the first time we see some really good eye relief effects. We see some great optics. We see the use of a throw lever on the low-powered variable optics. And everything seems to be, again, committed to realism and authenticity and very much trending in the right direction. By SITREP 05, this was in January of 2024. And with the first update of the new year, we also see a new design and development philosophy coming from the guys over at Dark Matter Studios, Pebbles and Stilton. They say, hey guys, progress for the game is going great and we are doing boring stuff. We compiled a list of all of the essentials that we deem required to put in the game for early access. For example, crouch, prone, death handling, game modes, AI variations, more maps, and all that sort of stuff. They also show us a little clip where we can check out both crouch and prone as a first pass. Again, everything you're seeing is obviously a work in process. And they also said that they've reflected on their work in 2023 and noticed that they had a very high commitment to getting things damn near perfect. And that philosophy was slowing down the development and slowing down their ability to bring the game to market. So in the future, they say that they're going to focus on feature completion rather than feature perfection so that they can get the game to market and then continue to fix it and work on it and polish it and make it better and better as they go. Remember, this is all the way back in January of this year, some 6 months ago, yet we still, unfortunately, do not yet have a release date. But you'll notice that it is a pivot in their design philosophy, in their development philosophy, and that goes forward into SITREP number 6. This one came out in February of 2024, just 1 month after that first one of the new year. Here they reveal a new map for the first time, It's on a ship. Looks really badass. Shipping containers stacked just about 40 or 50 feet high off the deck. You can imagine the complexity of being inside this thing, and it's nice to see some maritime options. And then they also show off a first pass at a medium machine gun. It's good to know that we'll have some support weapons in the game. That is something that is critically missing in a lot of tactical shooters, especially ones that claim to be focused on close quarters. So it's nice to see that included, and it also gives me hope that hopefully we're going to see some longer range engagements, and we're also going to see some use of suppression in order to achieve fire and maneuver in an authentic way. A month later, in March of 2024, a new sitrep comes out. This one is sitrep number 7, and this is really showing off the progress in the team room, or kind of your hub that you hang out in between matches. It also showcases some new breaching equipment. In the past, we had seen some explosive breaching equipment. We've seen some assets showcasing your typical kind of strip charges. We've seen the use of ignition systems, as well as non-electric shock tubing and the flash associated with initiating that charge with the initiator, seeing the flash go down the no-nails and then actually hit the charge itself. This time we're seeing some mechanical options, including a donker or a battering ram equivalent, as well as a sledge and a telescoping Halligan or hooligan tool. So we're going to have some variety, at least, in the way that we can attack thresholds, which is all great news. The team room in the hub area itself, this is the first time we've really seen what that is going to look like in its new shape and form. It seems to include a dark room, so you can do some night vision training, as well as some shoot house style space, as well as a flat range so that you can do some marksmanship training. And we see further iterations on this hub design later on. In fact, about a couple weeks later, on the 22nd of March 2024, sitrep number 8 comes out. And this one was particularly interesting because there wasn't any media associated with it. However, it was Stilton this time announcing that they had found a solution so that we could maintain a high level of customization and high fidelity on the character models, but do it without performance penalty. They say that they were able to improve the performance of the character by 4,000%, meaning that it's not taxing CPUs, GPUs quite as much. I don't know how they achieved that. It's some sort of Unreal Engine wizardry, and these guys are just technical geniuses. Thank goodness, as young independent developers, and doing really good work in order to bring this thing to market at a playable state. And the huge news that comes out of that is previously they were really thinking that 4-player cooperative gameplay would be about as big as these servers could take because of the cost of rendering the characters. And after sitrep 8 comes out, they basically say, hey, we don't know what the player count's going to be, but it's much more reasonable to think that it's going to go beyond 4-player cooperative play. So that's big news, really opens up the audience, and it also opens the door for larger kind of milsim groups, which are a really important part of communities in games like this. And so that's a really big one. In the next update, sitrep 9 comes out, and this time they tell us about a new pass on the hub. This time they show us some indoor as well as some outdoor images. We can see inside the actual team room space, you've got gun lockers, you have commo racks, you've got folding chairs, there's cabling everywhere. It looks a heck of a lot like a ready room or like a team jock or a team talk, that I've seen many times overseas. And so that's a really awesome social feature that'll allow you to hang out with your buddies, plan operations before going into them. Then they give us an outdoor shot that shows us 2 different shoot houses that look very similar to the ones that we've seen in previous media. They also see a really high tower, which may present the opportunity for either fast rope or fries insertion training, which is what it would typically be used for real world. It could also be used as a high elevation marksmanship platform so that you could do some high angle shooting and figure out your holds and stuff like that. There's a flat range viewable in the distance, and then a big warehouse space. I think the warehouse space is what we saw the previous hub pass on. So the screenshots from the previous update likely came from that building, would be my guess, but I can't say that with certainty. The biggest update of all, out of all the things that I've covered so far, is certainly sitrep number 10. And sitrep number 10 came out in May of this year, just really a few weeks ago at this point. And the huge news coming out of sitrep number 10 was that they had migrated their game to Unreal Engine 5. So now we have in the works a high fidelity VR tactical close combat simulation game coming out on Unreal Engine 5. Will be the first VR game within that genre to come out, as far as I know, that is being developed on Unreal Engine 5. That also means that in the future, this game is going to be able to be updated for quite a long time. Unreal Engine 5 very likely has some legs behind it, some longevity associated with it. And there's a lot of technical work that went into migrating their code from Unreal 4 up to Unreal Engine 5. They also announced improvements to the way that they use infrared. IR lasers and illuminators got another pass and look much better. There's improved door handling, which is critical, especially in a CQB game where a lot of the danger and the risk and the decision points happen around thresholds with doors associated with. And then Pebbles and Stilton shared their current to-do list, where they list character customization, weapons, a virtual stock option, and throwables. And in their most recent update, they showcase some images of character customization, which is a great sign. That means they are working on that list that they just published, and we see some wide-ranging variety of kits from multiple different character avatars. They also showcase a building being developed for one of their Afghan-specific maps. Hearing Afghan-specific maps also raises my morale and makes me very excited for some hopefully larger maps with more room to maneuver that culminate with a CQB event, but are not necessarily fenced into a tiny little geographic CQB style area. So you have some room to choose how to infiltrate the objective, support, suppress, isolate, contain the objective, and actually perform an assault on the objective. That is all great news. The character avatars themselves, again, you see tons of variety. We see some Arctic style camouflage, various types of plate carriers. There is a US looking avatar with, OD green and jungle tiger stripes, as well as a reconnaissance style rig with, modern PTTs from OpsCore, as well as an ATAC. And so these guys are just looking incredible. We see a more, direct action or even riot style, build with this dude that's rocking a 3A ballistic helmet with peltors and a face shield, as well as groin and DAP shoulder protection. And again, ATAC, saw pouches, blue jeans, different kind of boots, different kind of gloves, just ton of variety across the character customization, which I know is huge in this genre, and people will take full advantage to make the game their own and experience it as they will like. So the game's come a long way. We still don't know when it is going to be released. And I think that is, while it is frustrating, it's also good, because I know that Pebbles and Stilton will release this game when they are damn good and ready to release it, when they are proud of what they have built, when they are ready to share it with the world. That gives me a lot of confidence that the game that we ultimately receive will be good. However, I do have one major concern. That is that we haven't heard a lot about the gameplay loop. And you can have the most high fidelity, gorgeous, interactive, immersive, realistic, authentic, incredible tactical CQB sim in VR ever made on planet Earth. But if there is not a reason to play it, if I don't have a reason to go in and achieve progress with my friends, if I don't have challenges, if I don't have campaign style linked missions, if I don't have hostage rescue scenarios, if I don't have a reason to go in time and again, to continue grinding, to continue playing, to continue to try and get better, then I will not feel inspired to continue playing this game. For as amazing as a simulation as the game appears to be right now, I do have concerns that I may not be drawn back into it over and over again. Ground Branch, for example, is a phenomenal game that achieves a lot of what Geronimo seeks to achieve, but does so in a pancake traditional, PC game. And Ground Branch suffers from the same thing that I fear Geronimo may end up suffering from. That is, there is no gameplay loop. There's game modes. There is an open sandbox. It is impressive visually. It is impressive from a gameplay perspective, customization perspective, authenticity perspective, realism perspective. And yet, for some reason, despite all of those, it checks a lot of boxes. It doesn't check the most important one, and that is, it is a game and needs to give gamers a reason to play the game. So I don't know how Pebbles and Stilton plan on broaching that challenge. I do still have confidence, obviously, in these guys. I will be purchasing the game, no doubt, and I look forward to playing it. But I'm eager to see how much of a game this VR game is actually going to be. If you enjoyed this video, I'd encourage you to subscribe to the channel for more updates on Geronimo and other games just like it. I'm Controlled Pairs. This has been Geronimo, and I will see you guys in the next one.